So yeah, I had picked up some used chucks, and they really did look like they were in good shape. I mean, you don't see a lot of rust or corrosion or anything on them, so I wasn't worried about that. But it's always nice to have your equipment working the right way. So how are we doing here? Is that pretty good? So I got two of them here. I think Nova is pretty popular within the club. It's it's a real common one. It's easy to get parts for. It's not the low end. It's not the high end expensive chucks. So they tend to be pretty popular for that reason. And then I have a one-way. Let's see, which one would this be? The Stronghold. I think that's what the same one as the school's got. And this, I'm not going to be able to pull this one apart for you today, but we can just go through it real quick. So when you get your chucks, the first thing I would recommend that you do is you get some kind of a little pick, and all of these little hex sockets in your screws, loosen that sawdust and that fodder up a little bit, and get down to bare metal. And then I don't have an air hose handy, but we'll blow those out so that you can get your hex key in there. If you don't do that, what ends up happening is your hex key starts riding higher and higher in your screw, and you're going to strip that head of your screw out, or you're going to strip the tip of your hex key. So a real simple little thing, but it's very important that you try to keep the dirt, the sawdust, and the different things out on that. Now the 4-jaw chucks have, if you've never had them apart, there's a big kind of like a ring that has a spiral cut in it that meshes with the teeth on the bottom of these of the little cars. So the jaws come off, and I don't know if there's a technical term, but I'm going to call them the cars, and that would be these little movable pieces that are interfacing with the ring inside. What I like to do first is I'd like to turn these out so that all of these are on the outside edge of the body. So when you look at them this way, they're flush, and that way you have a reference point. They're stamped on the Novas, so you'll see like this one's got the number 1. I also will write, if I'm taking them apart, I'll put the numbers right on the chuck so that I know I can get them back in the same spot. And then I put a little piece of tape on the outside, and that'll reference something that we get to in a minute. The whole chuck is held together by this split ring that's on the back, and this can be kind of tough, and you do need a special tool. This is a split ring pliers, and this one can do both the internal, so you're spreading it or you're pulling it together. But yeah, Menards has got them. I think I got mine at Fleet Farm. So they're readily available. It's not like you have to go to a specialty tool store. But yeah, those would be the nice ones. Now the challenge with this one is my pliers. If you look at the tips, these are the biggest tips that came with it, and I have a set of interchangeable tips. And you would like those to be as large as possible and still fit inside the holes that are that are on the split ring that's inside right here. These work, but if I had a preference, I might even go get either bigger inserts or just invest in a little bit bigger pliers. So you spread the ring and you pop it out, and I'm going to tell you this right now, that came out really easy, and it didn't come out so easy the first time I did this. Sometimes if you look at these rings, you can see that there's a little bit of crud buildup around there, and that could be rust. It could just be, sap or anything. That will make it stick in that groove. And, you could have a little bit of challenge to make that pop out nice and easy. So with that in mind, I would take this particular ring, and before I put it back in, I'm going to give I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to give my little Scotch-Brite pad a squirt of WD-40 just to get it wet. And then I will take this on the split ring and rub that off so that your split ring is nice and smooth. And then that will drop in there easier than it came out, more than likely. So that's just a good thing to do for reassembly. All right, with that split ring off, now this black plastic piece, it holds the dirt out, keeps the dirt out, but it also holds these I don't know what you'd call these. It's kind of a socket where your wrench fits in. It keeps those in place so they don't come out. And this might be another little piece that comes out rather difficult if you're coming up with it. But remember, I put all of my cars to the outside edge so that they're flush. And now if I tip this upside down, that should just drop. See, right? Just like that. Yeah. I had it out once before. Maybe I gotta. It did pop off real easy for me once. Well. Right? There's not a lot to grab on these things either. I might not get this off. Why in the world? I did. I had this off. I did a dry run. Right? All right, now I'm going to turn this, and this is going to set all those wrong. There it goes. And I have no idea why it didn't drop. So, maybe it was just binding in there a little bit with those rings. I want to be careful because when I turn this over, that ring could come out of here now too, if these nuts come out. So I'm still got these brought out to the perimeter. And if you look inside, these sockets are what's keeping the main ring in place. So with these in place, I have a little indicator right there, and I'll just, to make sure I get it back together the same way, on this tape, I just put a little line, and then there's a big shiny surface that I will put another dot in here. And I have one from before, so I'll just make this one bigger. And that's where I'm going to drop it in later, right? So when I'm all done, I take it apart, put it back together. That's where that'll go. So these little sockets just pull out. And then this ring will drop out. Look at that, one fell out, just the way it was supposed to. So if you look at the ring, even though It's not real dirty. You can see that I got a little bit of debris, and I don't know, most of it's probably wood related, but there could be a little rust or maybe some metal shavings. So get yourself a toothbrush and or a little brass brush, and I just clean that up real good. And then you may want to also do the same on the teeth. And this isn't real bad because, like I said, I had this apart once before. Now, all these little cars are loose now. This is one area that'll gum up and create a hard operating chuck. So I labeled each one of the slots, and each one of these has a number on it. So I'm going to pull these out. And if you look at the body of the chuck, you can see there's lots of dust in there. And you have multiple surfaces that are interacting in order to get your chuck to operate. So each one of these cars has a channel on both sides, right? So there's 1, 2, 3 surfaces on each side. So there's like 6 surfaces on each one of these that potentially could be gummed up. That could have, it could even just be oil. Maybe you lubricate yours regularly and you might just have some dried oil or grease on it. And so I would recommend a brass brush on this particular one, but you're gonna just clean each one of these. And when you get down to nice shiny steel, you know that that's gonna be pretty good. And then on the bottom, you have these teeth, and these are the teeth that'll interact with that ring. So when the ring goes in place and you're rotating it, the spiral on those, on the, this way, the spiral on the ring is what makes your traveler go in and out. So this is another opportunity for you to get in there and get out all the grease and the debris that's in there. Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Kelly. So each one of these teeth is actually different on the bottom. And when you look at, here it is. When you look at them, this one on the right, on my right, it's actually got a little bump on it. And that bump is what stops your rotation when you max it out. So, you know, you go to open it up all the way, the spiral on the ring will actually hit that knob, and then you're maxed out. And you can see all of these are actually pretty dirty. So and I'll just do this real quick, pop her back together, and hopefully it'll start operating smoothly. So now on the body, you got to clean the mating surface. And what I like to use here is a little piece of Scotch-Brite. And then you can usually, you know, get that in there and kind of go back and forth, get that cleaned out. You know, you may have to, if it's got a piece of some stuck grease or lubricant, dried lubricant, you may have to get just a screwdriver or something so you can get into the groove. But it goes pretty easy. It's just something you got to work your way through. And I'm really tempted to blow the dust out of here, and then I keep remembering I have a microphone on. So, and I've even done that with my face mask, right? I go to blow, right? Anybody else ever do that? Wearing a face mask, and I try to blow the dust off something, and it's like, whoa. All right, so I got most of the heavy stuff. I'm just going to hit it real light with the toothbrush to get any last little bits off of there. And I'm surprised it's actually as dirty as it is, because it wasn't that long ago I had cleaned this up. So on the inside, I mean, you may have a little bit of surface area here where the ring is riding. You can clean that up a little bit. We talked about the split ring and how this split ring had a little bit of, to me, it almost looked like rust, but it could have been, and I don't think it was rust, because now I can't see it at all. So it must have been dried lubricant. But the mating surface, which is this groove right off my fingertip, that might have some dried lubricant in it as well. So I think I'll use the brass brush on there. So you want to hit that so that you can get a nice clean mating surface when we reassemble it. And for the most part, I think I'm done. We'll just do one clean up around the rim. And I'm going to call that ready to put back together. So it gets a little bit tougher to put these teeth back together, but it's not bad. You just got to kind of putz with it a little bit after you flip it. So put them back in with the appropriate numbers. And you can do what you want as far as lubricating them. You could spray it before you put them together. You could give it a light spray after. I haven't had any trouble doing it either way. I like doing it a little bit after. I'll spray it lightly. I'll work it a few times, and then I'll wipe the chuck off and just, let the WD-40 sit inside. So when you flip it, these are going to move, right? And that's what we have to make sure that we're back in spot. So just take it and make sure that each one of these teeth of the little cars are back on the perimeter. And I can fit my fingers in here. If you can't, a screwdriver is real easy to push those around. And I got this dirty while I was cleaning the other pieces, so clean that up real quick. And this might be a little harder to get lubricant in when you flip it. But now, if you remember, on this ring, I put the mark, right? And then I have the tape out here where I have the mark. So I'm just going to line that back up and then drop it in. And it will find its own home if you're that close. You know what I'm saying? So the spiral has to line up with the teeth. If you just drop it in and you're a little bit off, it'll ride on top of the teeth of the four little cars. And so then you just rotate it back and forth and it'll drop in place. And then these nuts kind of go through the same drill. Get rid of anything. I'll put a little spot on these. And then they just slip in. And I don't know if you could see that, but these nuts have one little like a little post right there, and that post does fit into a hole that's on the main shaft on the main body inside of there. We'll give this a quick brush. I'm sure there's something on here that wouldn't let it drop out before. Just get rid of the bulk. And on this, we have a couple of notches in here that are large, and those large notches have to straddle the groove that's in these sockets, those nuts, and then that drops in. Put your split ring back on. And you open it up to get it over. If it doesn't drop all the way, then just take your screwdriver and push down like this until it pops back into the groove. And this went in real easy. So, and then do a quick check. So we put this in here, and it looks like they're all moving. Right now I'm maxed all the way open, and it hit that little bump, that little knob that we were talking about earlier. And even without any major lubrication right now, it's moving more smoothly than it was before. So that's kind of the quick and dirty of doing a little bit of maintenance on your chuck. Any questions? How many people have done this? Oh, that's good. Oh, it's actually different. I'm glad you asked, Al. So this one doesn't have as many pieces on it, right? So on the Nova, we have these little sockets that had the teeth on it, right? You put the hex wrench in here, and then the teeth on the inside engage the ring. So on the Stronghold, you have a different type of a wrench. So the teeth are actually incorporated into the wrench. So we got rid of that supporting structure on this chuck. So that's actually a good thing because it's simpler. I actually struggled with getting the ring off on this one because my players weren't quite. This is a bigger chuck. My players weren't big enough, but this one cleans easy because it's all exposed. So this one you can just take your toothbrush. You can clean that and get that debris out of there. You can open this up all the way, or actually you could go both ways. I would close it, or make sure that you do it on the outside edge. You clean these with the toothbrush or the wire brush, and then open it up all the way, and you can get in on the inside. But this one's got the body, the 4 teeth, and the ring, and that's it, right, for the movable parts. And a little bit of WD-40 on these. Oops, this didn't want to come out now all of a sudden. There we go. And you don't need much. And then those are lubed. And then you'd have the inside of the ring of this particular ring has the spiral cut that grabs the teeth that are on the back of the cars. So that part is exactly the same. And you can actually get this, you can actually open this further, and you can get at those teeth without taking it apart. So you could clean these just by turning them upside down. No, did I? Actually, I think that one actually came out. They come out that way, don't they? Yeah, see, this is a new chuck for me. So I was going to say the jaws have the pin in it. So if you look at the body here, there's these grooves and one set of jaws, and I didn't bring the jaws. There's actually a pin that sticks through on the bottom that rides in there, and that's what prevents it from opening up all the way. So there you go. You don't have to take the split ring off on these. Oh, there you go. Pardon me? Oh, yeah. Which I just did. I just did that. Yeah, I didn't have that one open all the way. So this is where your rubber band comes into play. There. One more. There we go. You got that? You got that one for me? We did it again. I did it again. So I got. I think they all are now. Oh, you know what? So let this be a lesson to you. I'm showing you how not to do it. Soon is gotcha. All right, so I have my finger on number 1, and as soon as it clicks, so I just went past that 2. So if I just turn it a little bit, now push on number 2. And now that one's in. I just now, but yeah, but you know what? I missed it somehow. Oh, okay. There it is. All right, so can you see that, Cleat? If I rotate this back and forth, you can see that thread kind of right there going in and out. So right now I'll put it in. And that same thing on that one. Thank you, Al. And if I look now, the groove that's in each one of these is all lined up. And I'm good to go, I'm hoping. Okay. That's all I had.